You never lost the athlete in you. How to return to movement and training while healing from illness. So many of you are going to be able to relate to this podcast. You are the athlete who got sick. You lost the ability to train or work out, and that has felt like you have lost a part of your person, your identity. Now, as you work to get well, you're confused and maybe hopeless. How do I get back to the athlete I used to be? First, you need to know why your body stopped working like it did. You need to hear the truth that it wasn't your fault. In this podcast, I'm going to explain a bit of the physiology behind this body shutdown. We're going to talk about the hidden shame that you have been holding on to and how to break free of it. Very important. We are going to reframe movement, and I'm going to give you a practical framework for how to safely step back into movement and training while you are navigating and healing. My name is Felicia Desjardins. I am a certified holistic nutritional consultant, a registered bioenergetic practitioner, and a thyroid success coach. And I have traveled the journey of chronic illness. I spent many years ill, and now I have spent many years helping people get through it just like I have. It's my passion. It's what I'm here for. And I use and share my personal experience, but also my professional experience now as a holistic health practitioner to help even you get well, because even you can overcome disease and thrive again. No matter what you're told, that can be your reality. So let me tell you, I am making this video because I walked this. Everything I'm giving you in this video is real life. It's personal. It's what I went through and experienced. And these are the things that helped me step back into training after years of having my athletic lifestyle stripped away from me. So, were you once an athlete? Did you play competitive sports? Were you the gym fanatic or the triathlete? Your life likely revolved around training. You made sacrifices with your time because you were disciplined and determined. You prioritized recovery. Your friendships were rooted in your sport. That's certainly how it was for me. And then I got sick, and I couldn't run or train, and I couldn't get through a workout. And eventually, in the worst of it, in the worst years, I could hardly walk, and I would actually have to get my mom to take me out for walks around the park, and she'd have to quite literally hold and support me. So you're the athlete, illness hits, your capacity drops, but then that identity crisis kind of begins. Am I right? It didn't matter how many people told me your identity is in Christ, not in your training or your sport. Of course, they're right, but that statement also ignores kind of who God created me to be. And if you're anything like me, He created me with a love and a passion for fitness and training. It's built into me. It fuels me like it does for so many of you. So no, I didn't lose who I was, but I absolutely mourned the loss of the ability to live out this part of my identity. Important distinction there, and important to acknowledge this. So I know that there are many of you who can relate to this. Many of you are in the midst of this extremely difficult part of your healing journey, and navigating movement and navigating the loss of being able to move like you could is really hard. So you're likely feeling ashamed that you can't just be stronger and more disciplined. What's happening to me? Why can't I be like I was? As if it's your choice or failure leading you here. Many of you are embarrassed at how far you've fallen. Maybe you've lost hope altogether. Some of you will feel like you've lost a part of yourself. How do I cope? How can I walk around in public like this? If only people knew who I used to be. Guilt, shame, embarrassment, and fear. These have likely, if you're walking through this, become kind of the new normal. So here's a truth that I need you to hear. You didn't lose your discipline. Your physiology changed. Today, we're going to address this sensitive and misunderstood and often overlooked topic. We're going to end, but we are going to end with hope. Like I said, I was there. I had to give up that athletic lifestyle for a time. But as I got well, I learned that I was going to have to get over my pride and start from the very beginning again. And boy, was that really hard. So let's start here. Why this happens, the psychology of the former athlete identity. So, athletic identity is kind of wired into that self worth, that and even that stress response. As athletes, we're very accustomed to that dopamine and achievement reward pathway that we experience through our training. And if God created you with a passion for fitness, you know this intimately. And when illness limits capacity, it feels like you're losing a part of yourself. And many women try to push through and then they experience a crash, or they get to a point where they avoid movement altogether and it facilitates this shame cycle. You might be one of those too. You might have experienced both of those things. So I want to introduce this idea. You are grieving a version of yourself. And I want you to hear me. Grief requires compassion, not punishment. I want to encourage you, if you are taking notes and you want steps to take, here's step 1. Allow yourself a space to grieve. Now, I don't want you to necessarily stay there, but I want you to take some time, maybe a day or a couple hours. Maybe you need half an hour alone crying. Whatever you need, take time to allow yourself to confess this grief and sadness to the Lord. He knows who He created you to be. He understands that this is hard for you. So take some time to pour out your heart to Him. If you're listening to the things that I'm saying and you're going, oh my gosh, this is validating, this is what I'm experiencing. I know this shame. I know this guilt that I'm going through. I want you to take a minute to acknowledge this grief and let yourself process that. That's going to be step 1. Now next, the physiology, why movement feels impossible during illness. So I'm gonna go through a couple kind of basic things. And of course, this is going to depend, the specifics of this are going to depend on what exactly you're going through. But no matter what you are going through, any type of illness is going to be rooted in some level of inflammatory response, right? And when we talk about inflammatory response, of course, there's a broad spectrum of inflammation. But no matter which spectrum, no matter which inflammatory pathway you're experiencing, you are experiencing inflammation. And this is going to, of course, have some downstream effects for almost everybody. You're going to get a downregulation of your vagal tone. Many of you are aware of the vagus nerve and the broad range of things that the vagus nerve is responsible for. One of the simple ones being motility of your gut. You are likely experiencing a downregulation of that to some degree. Poor gut health, poor vagal tone. This is going to lead into, or vice versa, you might have had this first, but an HPA axis dysregulation. So we're talking about that stress response, that hypothalamic pituitary axis that regulates how your body is coping with stress. Inflammation, a lot of you, when you're going through illness, there is this perceived level of stress. You're carrying a big emotional burden. So there's that is triggering that HPA response and that chronic cortisol. But inflammation in and of itself in the body is also going to stimulate that axis and that cortisol response. And so that upregulated chronic cortisol response is also going to wreak havoc on your body and play with energy and capacity. You might be experiencing some hormonal disruption in the midst of this, right? With all this inflammation, this change in vagal tone, this change in stress response, and this upregulation of cortisol, your thyroid and your adrenals, of course, these things are going to be affected, and that may trickle down even into your sex hormones. And of course, we're going to get changes there. We might experience reduced strength and endurance. And then, of course, mitochondrial dysfunction. This is going to be a big one. Your body right now is trying to get through this. And mitochondrial dysfunction is a big part of a lot of chronic illness, and that's going to reduce your energy. So I want to focus on this truth. Your body is not betraying you right now. It's protecting you. I'm highlighting these kind of simple concepts: mitochondrial dysfunction, HPA axis dysregulation, poor vagal tone, chronic inflammation, because I want you to see that in the midst of chronic illness, there's so much going on. And there are things physiologically that need to be addressed. And right now, in the midst of that, your body is protecting you. Its main goal is to keep you safe and to help you get well. We have this, this change in thinking over the last number of years that we forget that our body is built to heal. It's programmed to try to heal and recover and replenish and restore. It knows God built the body very purposefully, and designed it beautifully, that it doesn't forget how to heal necessarily. So that's where your body is right now. I want you to embrace this, because if you can embrace this and understand and view yourself from this perspective, hey, my body is not breaking down, it's not shutting down on me, it's not betraying me, it's protecting me. Well, then you can get on board with what your body is trying to do, and it's going to change the way that you approach your healing journey and how you get back into movement. So we've done the psychology, the physiology. Let's talk a little bit more about that hidden shame, why women don't talk about this. There's this fear of being seen as lazy when you're going through this. This was such a big one for me. I was constantly saying this, and I would actually constantly hide and isolate myself, because I was so terrified, especially as that driven, motivated athlete who wanted to go places. I was now so terrified of being seen as lazy. There's this feeling like you should know better. I'm the athlete. I'm supposed to be healthy. I'm supposed to know better. There's going to be this comparison to your old self. We're going to talk about this. There's also going to be comparison to others, especially social media culture. If you're the athlete, likely your social media feed is filled with athletic videos. People PR, like their PR videos, gym videos, all this stuff. And that's what you're being flooded with. Yet you're not in the position to live that out right now. And that's going to be a big part of that shame cycle. And then many people feel alone. It is a really an isolating process when you're in this chronic illness world and you feel like there's nobody to turn to, nobody's helping me, the medical system is shunning me, the natural world is confused, it's all confusing, and nobody knows what this is like. Again, it goes back to they're going to think I'm lazy. I should just be able to push through. So there is this part of shame that comes from isolation. Now, talking about this, why am I talking about this? Why am I pointing out these things? Because like I said before, as we talk about this openly and honestly, we can approach these shame cycles and these thought patterns with compassion. And that's what I want you to do now, is to approach and acknowledge this with compassion so that you can move forward. And on that note, where do we go from here? So before we get to the framework of how to step back into movement, we have to start with the mind. Okay, holistic healthcare is all about understanding and approaching our health on a mind, body, and spirit level. These are three parts of us that are one. We can't separate them out. So you need to reframe your movement journey and let go of thoughts and beliefs that are holding you hostage. I'm telling you, when you can let go of these thoughts and reframe your approach, your world will open up again. It's not going to be easy. You'll have to fight with these old thoughts that you were trying to let go of, but keep holding on to the new truths and you will make it through thriving just like I did. So within the last couple of years, since my healing journey really started moving, I have been able to train 5 times per week again. I've entered competitive swim meets. I've done 2-day team CrossFit competitions. I've been able to re-enter my athlete lifestyle, and it's because of this work that I did right here, this mindset work. So there's 3 points I want to share with you that changed everything for me. So I really, if you're able, I'd love you to write these down. These are 3 things that I want you to focus on. And if you can grasp these, if you can work to reshape your mind in this way, and by all means, this is something to pray on and ask the Holy Spirit to help you. But if you can do this, this opens up your world again. So number 1, it's not about who you used to be. It's about building a new you, a new athlete. The biggest thing that will hold you back is comparing yourself to others and to who you used to be. You got to let that woman go. Your goal is not to get back to how you used to be. What a waste of time. No, your goal is to become a better, fitter, wiser athlete than you ever were before. Your goal right now, this is an opportunity for you. I know it doesn't seem like that right now. This is an opportunity for you to become a healthier you, more than you ever were before. Every time you go to move or to train, you are going to think, gosh, I used to be able to do so much more. That is where you have to catch yourself. You have to grab that thought and say, nope, this right now is strength. Right now, I am building. I am becoming stronger, healthier, and fitter. I'm not going back to who I used to be. I'm getting well and becoming better than I was. Let go of going back to how you were, who you were. Focus on who you want to become. Okay, number 2, movement has to become your healing tool, not your performance metric. You're not performing right now. You aren't at the stage that you are competing. You are healing. You are building. Our movement and our training always has to have a purpose, right? And right now, that purpose for you is healing. You're going to walk into the gym or use your at-home setup and think, what's the point right now? This is ridiculous. These movements are silly. Again, you need to grab this thought and switch it. Your goal right now with movement is healing. When you can hold on to this, those silly little stretches you need to start with, those become meaningful. Those become an achievement, not an embarrassment. Number 3, I like this one. Love this one. Sometimes stopping or modifying is success. This was so hard for me because, like most of us athletes, not only are we driven and determined and ready to push forward, but a lot of us amateur athletes fell into this ineffective training method that we have to be operating at 100% all the time. Every workout has to be intense. Every workout has to be RPE 8 to 10. The top, I want to deconstruct this here. The top tier professional athletes don't operate this way. Think about, professional endurance athletes. 70 to 80% of their training is in zone 2, not zone 4 or 5. And when we talk about zone 2, that's that level of if you were sitting on a bike or going for a run with someone, you could maintain a conversation with them the whole time, right? We are not supposed to be operating at 100% capacity at every workout. Rest and recovery is a huge part of a professional athlete's schedule, and yet most of us don't even schedule in mobility sessions or simple foam rolling times. We are fooling ourselves when we are healthy and well to think we need to operate at max capacity. But now, as an athlete who is healing and in recovery, your routines need to look drastically different. You need to give yourself lots of room to modify as you go because the priority is building up your nervous system first, not just your muscle or aerobic capacity. That's not what we're working on right away here. If you go in and plan a workout and realize that it's not going to happen, don't stop right away. Don't get discouraged. Get purposeful and intentional. Okay, my body isn't accepting this movement right now, but I know I could do this instead. And if you're able to do it, that's a win. If you're also going in And even, you're going with a good mindset. Okay, what I originally planned isn't working. I'm going to modify. I'm going to go to a lighter movement. I'm going to go to a really easy, maybe I'm just going to do some stretching. And you're still not able to do it that day. There are many days in the midst of healing from chronic illness where I moving that day wasn't going to happen. And it was a win to listen to my body and go and rest. So once I embraced this, I actually started to make progress, because before I set my expectations high. I set my, I'm going to go out and have a full workout, and I'd get in there, wouldn't be able to do it, and then I would just stop. But now with this understanding that stopping or modifying is success, I was able to go in, realize that what I planned wasn't working, modify, and then I got something done. And then slowly over time, I kept building. So to summarize this, when I started letting go of who I was and embraced movement as healing, I started with the most basic of stretching protocols. I wasn't even doing a workout. I literally had to start with stretching and mobility moves. Then I moved into what I used to see as silly Pilates or yoga moves. And I remember being so humbled and having to let go of my pride that, once upon a time I would have said, oh, I would never do these kind of movements. They're silly. And then I, had to switch that mentality to these movements are a part of my healing and they're helping me build. Okay, that's the mindset of things. That's step, one in that sense. I guess step two, because I said earlier, step one would be that compassion piece and allowing yourself to grieve. So step two being that mindset shift. Let's talk about the practical framework, how to safely step back into movement. So like I said, I started with simple stretching routines. I'm talking really simple. What I was truly starting with, though, was building the nervous system. I mentioned this before. Right now, your nervous system is in a state of turmoil. Its sole focus at this point is to protect you. And when you can see and understand this, you can start to tap into movement and to help you heal. What I want to do first is get a baseline of capacity for your nervous system. So I'm going to give you some examples here. As you explore walking and stretching routines, I want you to start incredibly small. Walk up and down the driveway. Does that make you tired or exhausted? Do you feel the same, or do you feel more energized after that? Try 2 to 3 minutes of light stretching or mobility, and then ask yourself the same question. Does that make you feel tired or exhausted? Do you feel the same, or do you feel more energized after doing that? Continue to experiment. Increase the walk to around the block or to 2 to 3 minutes. Let's say you get up to 6 minutes of walking and find that this amount makes you really tired. Well, now you know your capacity. 6 minutes is a little bit too much for your nervous system right now. Go back down to that 2 to 4 minutes of walking, and you should feel fine, if not energized after this. This is the amount of walking I want you to build a routine around. Okay, so you're getting kind of the concept here. We're experimenting with what is your capacity. So let's talk about how to build your starting movement routine. There are 4 things I want you to include in this movement routine. Number 1, breath work. Number 2, gentle mobility and stretching. Number 3, walking. Number 4, grounding. Now, grounding and breath work, you don't necessarily need to find your capacity, but walking and mobility, I want you to go and play with your capacity, find out how much you can handle. So back to our example, if you found 6 minutes of walking was your capacity, you're going to use the 2 to 4 minutes for your routine. Now, let's say you found 8 minutes was your capacity for stretching. You're going to find a 5-minute video to incorporate into your routine. The goal for your starting routine is to do either mobility or walking every day, but you can alternate them. Let's say Monday walking, Tuesday mobility, and so on. Plus, you will add breath work and grounding into your daily routine. So using these examples, I'm actually going to provide a sample routine in the show notes that you can download download and use as a guide to create your own. Now, I want you to commit to doing this consistently for 1 month. Don't increase your walking time or your mobility time. Stay at this rate the whole month. Remember, you're building your nervous system here. I know there's going to be the temptation to go longer and longer. Don't fall into that right now. I want you to build up. Just like you have goals to build your muscles or your aerobic capacity, their goal right now is to build your nervous system. And of course, you're not going to see that the same way that you would see, muscle building. We'll work on building capacity next, but this isn't a process to rush, okay? So focus on the nervous system. Also, remember those 3 points we went over going into this routine. You aren't who you were. You're building into a stronger version of you. Movement is your healing tool, not your performance metric. And modification is success. So if you have a day where your body is about to shut down at the thought of walking for 30 seconds, maybe just getting up and out of bed 5 times is going to be your movement win that day. So this routine is your framework. It's not about hitting those amounts every day. It's about being consistent with your goals. If you have to change the movement or time spent in that movement that day, but you're still doing a little bit of something, be it just the grounding and breath work, those are still steps forward. Those are still wins. Now, of course, I'm giving some pretty extreme scenarios here because this is quite literally where I was. I know there are many of you out there who can relate to, standing up and down or walking down a driveway as being exercise that day. But I also know there are many of you whose capacity is a bit greater. So what I'm likely going to do is create 2 sample routines here so that depending on what capacity you're in, you can have an idea and make this your own. So this is where we are going to stop for today. We covered a lot of ground, and I've given you the framework to be able to re-enter into movement. Put together your own routine. This is your homework. Put together that routine. Use the guides that I've given you. Stay consistent with it for 1 month, and then come back here to go through part 2, how to build capacity. Okay, I hope you've loved this. I hope there's been some freedom here. Maybe you've shed some tears. Maybe you're excited and hopeful again. That's what I'm hoping for. Again, I'm on the other side of this. You can get well. Even you can overcome illness and thrive again. So I want you to embrace that and to live in the hope of that. Okay, I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.